And we're live.
Did you find the button?
I did.
Okay, I'm glad. I think the cold open's dead, Gene. I just wanted to share that with you. And I think from now on we shouldn't like log in and catch up and all that crap and then hit record.
Just go.
I think this is it.
It's as good as it's going to get.
My eyes got so big. This is
Yeah.
I said the cold open was dead, Gene. And then you cold opened me saying the cold open was dead.
Isn't that the best way to do it?
It was pretty good.
Yeah.
How are you, man?
I'm good. The
Yeah?
eyes thing, I'm obsessed with this Elizabeth Holmes documentaries. There's 2 of them. And there's the HBO special. You're familiar with her? The
I don't think so.
Theranos, where she faked the whole blood testing
Oh,
thing. She pretending to be Steve Jobs. I'm obsessed with this story.
okay. There's that, and there's Inventing Anna.
Yes,
Right.
that's
Those two are kind of
they're pretty
getting
much the same.
together.
They're pretty, yeah.
I-
It's the
I've
same
got
type of
bits
crime.
and pieces. I've got bits and pieces of Inventing Anna, and I swear to God, it feels like she was raised in my family.
Wow.
Not so much from the money perspective,
Oh,
but from the perspective that any slight will not be tolerated.
right.
Like
Yes.
you've never met a more privileged crew. Right. It doesn't
I,
think it's privilege. It's just we're better than everyone.
well, I mean, that's a given.
Thank you. Finally, somebody
yeah. Somebody gets
gets.
me.
I don't know why they call this a coffee mug. It holds rum just fine. Mm. Oh my God. Yeah, it's good stuff. Good stuff. Gene, you know what we're talking about today?
No idea.
Really? I
do.
sent you the text.
Let me pull up the email.
Did you know? Oh crap! This
Yes,
is why
I
we're
do.
never going to be the two Bobs because we're the two Phoebes. Look at us.
Talking about the salary survey.
Salary guide.
Salary
The
guide.
survey is what we sent
The
out.
results. Yes, the result of
The
the survey.
guide is what we present. I say this to you in a condescending tone because I'm really talking to myself. Because I constantly say, "Hey, everybody, the salary survey's here," and they're like, "Who cares?"
I already filled that out.
Is that a good thing? Oh man. So yeah, we're going to talk about it, and this is for everybody. What we're talking about is changes since mid 2019, which was the last time we did a salary survey. So there's percentages and stuff. It's all about since mid 2019. It's not about this year or last year alone. But I think one of the things that's happened, and we had, thanks to all the shops, we had, I don't know how many hundreds of individuals that are represented, their salaries are represented in here. I want to say I'm not going to say it because Nick will get mad at me, but there are hundreds of salaries represented to get us to this point. And what's one of the things you've heard, Gene, about like salaries in general, not just in digital, but just across the board? What percentage you heard that things went up?
I don't know that I can recall a percentage.
Because you're busy watching TV shows about con artists.
That's true. Let's go with 10%.
Oh my God, where do you live? South Carolina?
Let's go with 100%.
Oh, dude.
I don't know, man.
Well, boy, have you set us up to be a shocker jaw dropper. It's the first time I put those together, but I like it. I'm going to keep it. Maybe we do jaw dropper shocker.
Yes, I like that.
Next on Bureau Briefing, it's the jaw dropper shocker. Salaries have gone up 25 to 35% for most positions.
That is not sustainable.
Right. That's why I found in the newsletter, I actually put in the newsletter, is this sustainable, like 3 times. I think my subconscious was just like coming through. But 25 to 35%. Now, nationally, I've heard a lot of people outside of digital, salaries are going up like 30%. So we're right in that range. but
Wow.
that's for most positions, right? That's not
Wow.
for everybody. Um, so is that crazy? Or is that a correction? Is that what it
That's
should have been the whole time?
that's debatable. Yes. I hear you. I mean, I'm thinking it's probably a blend, you know, a big, yeah, you like what I'm doing today.
Thank
Half
you
of
for
it's
the
got to
shirt,
be just
Carla. Oops.
correction. I mean, when you look at just minimum wage. I mean, it's when you factor for inflation, it is still way low.
Yeah. I noticed you saw my shirt. So, Lynn, Gene, I want you to know something about this show. People send me free stuff, and I don't think you've gotten anything, have you?
Not yet.
I want to thank Carla Santi. This blend shirt, oddly enough, is 100% cotton. Super comfortable.
That's a nice touch.
So I know that was great. I enjoy that one. I'm going to use that every time I wear this. Uh, so yeah, 25 to 35% increase in salaries for most positions. You know, you know what else is amazing?
That shirt.
Owners, it is. It's so comfortable.
It's
Owners,
100%
and
cotton.
I'm not sure if it's really applicable. Applicable? I don't know if it's really. She lives in South Dakota. Isn't it cold there like all the time? Could you wear a t-shirt? I had to show that there were no long sleeves. Sorry. Um, guess what else is happening? Along with this 25 to 35% increase,
I,
most owners say that's not true. No, they don't say it's not true. They put it in the survey.
oh. Oh.
Most owners anticipate 78% of their staff will get a raise this year.
Huh.
Like, and it's in, I might have this a little bit wrong, but I think it's in the 6 to 8% range
Hmm.
though. And I remember
Okay.
when I was working for somebody else, a cost of living raise was always like 1.5 to 2%. Right. So like you annually, you were looking at something like that. But this is
Jesus.
obviously on top of a correction, right?
I
So,
think so.
let's say it's the great correction. Let's say we get everybody to that 30% mark. Um, and then we're going to have to keep giving annual raises,
Mm,
which gets back to the fact that prices can't be static, right? I mean, it's the whole sustainable thing. Prices can't be static because if you have customers that are expecting the same thing year over year and don't expect that you're going to have to pay more, that's just not reasonable.
right.
And that's where we had this conversation before, but I think people need to put some sort of salary clause or salary, sorry, payment clause
Hmm.
in their contracts that basically say these are the rates for this time period. If you'd like to lock into a longer time period, you know, we can do that. Here's what that looks like. But if not, expect that your rates will probably go up 3 to 5% a year.
Yeah.
You know, that's what it's going to take because the other thing we're going to get to in a minute is there was one group who did not get this big bump, right? And I think we know who it was because we can see how they're responding to the world right now. And
Yeah.
it's not like they're suddenly going to Aspen for a vacation,
Right.
right? But the big winners in the group, and I think this makes a ton of sense. Like if you look at all the roles, what role would you think got the biggest bump? Who do you think is the most instrumental, influential in terms of success of a digital shop?
Well, I don't know that the most instrumental or influential would be the one to get the biggest bump
Okay,
necessarily by default,
fair enough.
but I would say it is probably just this in our industry, it's straight up
Yeah, yeah,
developers, designers, developers.
yeah. Developers were up there. Designers too. I want to say developers were in like they were in the 32%
Okay.
kind of increase, which makes sense. And 30% was what I heard across the industry. Like just talking to people who weren't necessarily part of the guide, that was like
Mm.
what was going on. But operations folks,
Huh. Okay.
30, 38% increase for people in operations.
Hmm.
That's a lot.
I wonder
Now,
why that's so.
to lock them in, right?
Yeah.
It's like, what's the one thing that's going to keep an owner from being able to focus on what's coming up in the distance?
Right.
Somebody who's taking care of what's going on right now.
Right.
So you'd think project managers too, right? Like their bump wasn't up there. Although project managers often go into the operations role, there's a lot of
Yeah.
similarity
Yeah.
in terms of understanding. But when you look at that 38% increase, and we heard this at both owner camps in December and January, people are trying to lock in those teams that make
Mm.
things happen. And these are the people who, from the second a lead comes in to when you're trying to convert them over into some sort of maintenance or the next
Yeah.
project or build it, they're involved soup to nuts, the whole thing. So that to
Not
me
not
made a ton of sense.
not to mention just client continuity in terms of your interface with the client. Like you don't want to be changing that person up every 6 months, you know?
No, and the operations folks probably aren't in front of the clients,
Probably not, but we were
right?
talking project manager operations.
But
I'm curious how like at a smaller firm, say a 5 to 10 person, how much of the operations is done by project managers?
exactly, is done by project managers, is still done by the founder or the
Yeah.
owner.
Yeah.
But you brought up a really interesting point, which is who should be the face of the shop now,
Mhm.
right? Project managers, in my opinion, can be client facing,
Mhm.
but they really need to focus on what's going on with the integrity of the project, of the health of the project. There's not a more important frontline person than a project manager, because if
Mhm.
they've got all the right skills, if they've got the right personality, if they're able to turn on just a touch of extroversion
Oh,
or just
right.
enough, but really focus on what they're great at, which is the details,
Mhm.
right? Which is making sure that you've got the right people, that you're dovetailing projects, you're doing all those types of things. But should they be the face? I mean, for
I don't
those
know.
smaller shops, I don't know that you have an option. For the larger shops, you've got people who are coming in account management.
Right.
We really didn't see account management is really pretty new. It's still 5 years, a little bit older than that in terms of the industry looking at it. So maybe there is something there, but they're not supposed to be managing what's going on in the project. So I don't know.
Right.
Maybe how do you find the stability for the client? That's a great question.
Yeah, and I've seen some chatter in Slack about biz dev stuff, sales stuff versus client facing stuff.
Mhm.
I would I'm making a big assumption, but I think in a lot of cases that is also a lot of the same person. Um, in
Yeah.
terms of client facing, and maybe that is mostly the client facing. I know in some of my experience, it's always the sales team who winds up being, client facing, and that's the old, well, the sales brought back some shit we can't build. There's always
Well,
that, right?
that's also challenging because you can't be in biz dev if you end up being the public face,
Right.
right?
It's
Because you
hard.
need to be out there finding what's next, bringing in new stuff.
Mhm.
Definitely not disappearing, because that'll freak a client out.
Yeah,
But but all of those things make good sense. I think that's a whole nother episode. Is how
probably.
do we rethink this? Because if it's going to be sustainable, we have to make sure that whatever's going on behind the curtain is not
Mhm.
something that's impacting your client. I'm not saying not to be transparent. I'm just saying it needs to not disrupt them,
Right.
right? Maybe it's good for them to know that you, like a lot of the other shops, like I just heard from a shop that I know has a tremendously strong culture. And for the first time since the pandemic, they're starting to see the turnover over the last 2 months. And so it's like, this isn't over, right?
Right.
This is going to
No.
keep rolling. I think people will come back. I think you got a
Yeah.
lot of boomerangers, but the bigger thing is just how do we rethink who we are and what we're doing,
Mhm.
because that's the path we're going to get to sustainability. Because the
I
other
think
part
so.
we haven't even mentioned yet is benefits.
That was next on the list. Yeah. So are benefits generally considered part of compensation in terms of
Yeah,
this
yeah, yeah,
survey?
yeah.
Yeah.
So compensation is going to involve salary, it's going to involve salaries,
Yeah.
stipends, time off, health
Right.
care, so basically your entire package. And one of the things I've seen quite a few shops do that I think is really impressive is instead of talking to somebody about their salary, they actually put together like a report card
Hmm.
that kind of breaks down all of the things that they get being part of the organization, but it also shows all of the costs to
Yeah,
the
yeah,
organization so that you can then look at it. And a report card's a weird word because it sounds like you're getting graded, but it's
yeah.
more like just looking at, okay, we appreciate that you want another 10% bump. At that point, we lose money having you here because look at the numbers.
Hmm.
And that's not making it about you're not good at your job. That's making it about this is where we live in time right now.
Yeah, I think it's healthy for an employee to know how much they actually cost the company.
I think so too, because they want
I
to know.
think they should. Yeah, yeah, I would want to know, but I think they should know.
I had a developer who was like just a really good developer, and like a lot of developers, really a little shaky because they knew that their shit could break.
Hmm.
So that's got to be a tough place to be, man. Like if things go wrong at a launch, nobody looks at the designer,
Like,
right? It's all
yeah.
going to be the developer. But I'll never forget one time he was like, "Hey, I put in 50 hours this week."
Yeah,
And I was like, "Oh God, we need to help you." He was like, "No, no, I was just telling you."
yeah.
Like he was sharing what he perceived as his value to me,
Right, right,
which was I made money for the company.
right.
And we went through that on quite a few, different things. And finally I told him, I was like, I've got to force you to take some time off
Hmm.
because your value is in the quality of what you do, not just the quantity. I was like, yeah,
Right.
quantity is great, but that's a short-lived win.
Hmm.
We need the quality and we need you not to be burnt out. We need all those things. But I think what you just mentioned is really important. People want to know their value. They want to know what they're bringing. And it's an honesty point. Like if the
It is.
company is making 70% off you, that's probably not right. You know,
Yeah.
it'd be interesting. And I'll go back and talk to some of my friends over at Summit, but it would be interesting to see what is that healthy percentage where the
Mm.
company is able to grow, right? And the individual is fairly compensated. But
Yeah.
the thing that came out of the benefits, and this really worries me a little bit, a third of all employees have unlimited PTO.
Hmm. We talked about that on an earlier show about the paid time off thing, like having a set policy versus kind of letting
Yeah,
people take care of what they need to take care of.
and a third, um, I guess it's lower than I expected, but it's also more than I'd hoped for, because to me, granted, it could be companies that are handling this properly, but to me, there's always that danger of people just because it's not an expendable resource, they're just not going to take it. They're not going to take that time off,
Right.
and and then I do know the other side of it is, and I've heard this from a couple of people, new people coming in because there's a revolving door for a lot of places right now. And somebody comes in and then immediately says they want to take 6 weeks off.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's
Yeah.
like, and obviously they have things in place for that, but it becomes this cultural thing of, well, no, I don't want that new person to get
Yeah.
6 weeks off. They just came
Yeah.
in, but can I not take 6 weeks off? Like you told me it was unlimited. So
Yeah.
there's a whole thing there culturally that I think is just really challenging.
It is. Yeah. That's a whole other episode about honesty and
Oh,
transparency.
yeah. And I'm going to lie throughout that mother.
Well, I mean, just the base part of like the fact that you never tell the truth.
Gene, are
I
you
mean,
okay? Are you okay? I'm worried about you, buddy.
I think that it is probably healthy for your employees to know when they are reaching unhealthy levels of salary and benefits. You know, um,
Unhealthy in terms of unsustainable or
yeah,
unhealthy in
yeah, yeah.
terms
I
of
mean,
they're not
the
making enough?
overall business as an organism, right?
Picture. Yeah, yeah.
Like, what kind of security do you? Yeah, yeah. Hey, great, you just made 120 grand, but like, we might not be in business in 6 months.
Yeah.
Like, what is that really? like, could you live with 90 and have us be in business forever? Like what's the healthy level of like communicating that and being there and like, come on.
And is it just money, right? It's obviously not
Yeah.
just money. Money is the thing that you turn to when there's nothing else there.
Yeah,
It's like, if
exactly.
my time is going to go away and I don't like what I'm doing, I need to be
Right.
compensated more because that whole concept that cash is just stored energy.
Mhm.
And whatever we do, we're doing in exchange. We're giving real energy for stored energy that
Yeah.
we can then use for other stuff. But if that freaking ratio isn't right, you know,
Yeah.
then that's when people leave. So there has to be more there. But I think the biggest story that came out of this for me was that the people who have gone through and really put their neck on the line, really sacrificed, the people who started these organizations, the people who have gone through the downturns, who have gone through the good times, they've seen a 6% increase, right? Total compensation, a 6% increase across everything compared to everybody else getting up in the 30%. And I've been in a conversation where somebody said, yeah, but they are in control and they have everything and they can give it all to themselves. Do all these things. I'm like, that's not how it works. I was
No,
like, there
bro.
are shops who did that. I'll see if their websites are still up. But it's like that's not a thing. Like you can't live that way. And
No.
the bigger thing to me is I think this is why we're seeing all of the mergers and acquisitions right now.
Mm.
Because we talked about how owners are looking to take a step back. We talked about how it's like no mas. It's like, how do I get the fuck out of here?
Yeah.
And I built this thing. I was on a call with somebody yesterday. They had spent about 10 years building what they have. And now they've got an opportunity to exit at a good multiple. You know, it's like 2.5. And I know everybody's going to have their different multiples and all this kind of stuff. And I'll say this, like you go into a broker and they're going to promise you the moon, but they are selling you a house. That is
Mhm.
all they're doing. And if you have a house, they're selling your house. And eventually they're going to tell you, well, unless you get the floors replaced, we're going to have to
Yep.
lower this 10%. Oh, you know what? The roof is like 20 years old. So we're going to,
Yep.
you're going to go in there and hear what you want to hear. And then it's going to slowly get whittled down.
Mhm.
So I think that's why so many people are more responsive to the story right now. And some people are winning. Like some people are getting a great exit, that sort of thing. I don't know how much longer this lasts because while you do have these brokers and these bigger shops and they're mainly looking to get it as a talent acquisition from what I
Mhm.
can tell, especially with the bigger ones. But with the
Yeah.
smaller ones, there is this opportunity to improve a service offering that you have if you're a shop that's acquiring, or to improve your portfolio if you're looking to go into a new space. Maybe you're looking to
Mm.
go into higher ed, you got nobody, you hire somebody that's got Cornell and they've got UCLA, right? And so
Mm.
they've got that in their portfolio and now you can say, hey, our team has, right? Like all of those things make sense, but and it always I
Mm.
had this conversation in LinkedIn a little bit, but it's going to come down to things costing more in
Mhm.
order to keep this together. Like you're going to have to raise those rates, but it's not just raising them once, it's putting in a sustainable way to make sure that you are compensating yourself and your team um, fairly.
Yeah. I mean, that's the everything in the world's more expensive right now. Like, why aren't your rates more expensive?
That's it, right? And I guess I get it. It's if you have a lot of holes in your process, if you have a lot of leaks in your operation where things aren't getting done effectively, cash flow can disguise a lot of problems,
Mm.
right? It can allow you at the end of the day to look and say, okay, well, we got a 500,000 in the bank and go home. But if you're slowly losing on each project because you haven't fixed some of these challenges or even know what they are, then yeah, just raising your rates isn't going to be enough because you're just going to have bigger leaks, right? So
Mhm.
I guess that's where I'm at right now is what's going to change next. This
Mm.
isn't it. This isn't where we end up. there's something else coming. And I really think it's a full change in the way that digital shops and agencies work. I
It
think
could be.
yeah, I mean, there's been flirtations with membership models. There's been, and some shops are doing great with that, but it didn't really catch. Like a lot of people didn't get in on that.
Feels kind of
Um,
niche anyway to
yeah,
me
I
right
mean,
now.
it's very relationship focused, which I think is great. I used to really think that was a bad thing in our space, but I think relationship is great as long as it doesn't overtake building things of value just to make somebody happy.
Yeah.
Because that you're gonna lose really quick as soon as your portfolio is empty or you don't
Hmm.
understand how to do something because you just did what they wanted. You
Hmm.
know, it was easy. They paid. They got what they wanted, and then it didn't work. Um, so I think there's a lot going on there where we just have to figure out where we fit, and
Yeah.
it's not going to be anytime soon because everything's moving, everything's changing. But I do think we need kind of a. This is going to make me sound like I don't know. I think owners need an advocate. They're the one group in all of this who like nobody really feels bad for, and that's not
No.
what it's about. But I I think the burnout among owners is higher right now than it's ever been,
Hmm.
and it's not like web shops aren't going to pop back up. That's
Right.
part of the cycle. Like some will
Hmm.
close, some will sell, some will get bigger,
Hmm.
but ultimately new ones are going to show up. And in the evolution of digital services, there's always something changing, going from
Hmm.
milestone billing to monthly billing to weekly billing, um, going from waterfall to agile to there's something new.
Yeah.
There's something new that's going to come, and it's going to allow certain shops to win, and other shops are going to see that. And because we are such a copycat industry,
Hmm.
it's going to proliferate, and I think that's great, right? Because it's just like getting a cure for a disease. If you see
Well,
that
you
somebody is healthy, you start doing what they do.
yeah, and you said the magic word, change, right? Like I would challenge anyone that you're not doing the same thing. If you've been in business for more than 5 years, you are not doing the same thing at year 5 that you started doing in year 1. You've
No,
changed the way you bill, you've
no.
changed your team, you've changed the way you deploy
Yeah,
project, like you've changed something drastic. It's, you can't be like, we only work with an agile process. Like you're not going to do that for the next 10 years. It's going to be different. You're going to get a
yeah.
project that's going to be like, they're either going to dictate how it works or they're going to ask you something or you're going to change it. It's just going to happen. So I think that's the key, man. And I think, yeah, I don't know. I'm not going to speak for all owners, but I would say a lot of the frustration and burnout comes from just trying to do the same shit the same ways all the time.
This used to work. Why doesn't this work?
I
Right?
spent all this time documenting this system.
Yeah,
Why doesn't
exactly.
this
You can't
fit?
let go of it.
Well, it doesn't fit.
Yeah, I
And a high paying employee may not fit. I mean, it just may
no.
not. You got to look at all that stuff, man.
Well, you got to figure it out. I mean, because rates are going up, the cost of things are
Hmm.
going up. It's not that you haven't raised your rates, but
Hmm.
it's about it's not just putting more gas in the car. It's
I
like you've got to
Yeah.
find a way to get there smarter. And to me, and I'll this is with the bureau too. Like if I look at the bureau and I see, I mean, literally, I don't think I've sent this. Maybe I sent this to you, Gene, but I did this just all the potential places the bureau could go,
Hmm.
and it's mind numbing. It is analysis paralysis. It's
Hmm.
terrifying. And then I had a
Yep.
conversation with a friend yesterday, and after that call, I looked at that list and I just started marking shit out because it's not what I want to do. It's not what we have expertise at. We're great at building community,
Hmm.
and that's where we need to focus. And we do great at events. But you start looking at all these other things, and it just becomes this situation where do I want to do this if I'm going to be at the helm? Do other people want to do it with me? Do they want to do it badly enough that they're not here just for the money? Not that the money won't be great, and other
Hmm.
people who pay us for this. And I think that's where we're all starting over. We all have a new business. And if we don't have the energy to start over, or we get some great offer,
Oh
right?
yeah,
Like, hey, this,
that'd
this
be
is
great.
amazing. I'm
That'd
going
be
to take
awesome.
that. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, if somebody showed up with 10 million, it doesn't matter if I'm feeling like I don't want to start over. No, I'm good. I got to take care of family. I got to get all that shit out of storage. I guess we need a bigger house. But I think that the biggest thing to me is Gordon Ramsay that shit, right? It's like if you ever watched Hell's Kitchen, one of the first things he does is rip every menu in half.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
And he just says, these are the things you're amazing at. And I know everybody in positioning right now, right? like Market Newfangled and David and
Yeah.
all the people who are truly into that, right? They're like going, yeah, Carl, no shit. We've been saying that for a long time. Focus on the thing that your superpower. Like, what's your great thing? But I think we need to realize that we cut off these little streams of revenue, and
Yeah.
that's okay.
Yeah.
We cut out the losers that have been winners for so long, and that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
We've got to focus on where we play the role nobody else can play, and that may mean that you change your team. But you know what? Your team's changing anyway. It's
That was
an
my point.
opportunity.
They're gonna be looking. Yeah, just don't take it personal and make it a strategic
Yeah,
decision instead of just reacting to it.
and don't feel like you have to rip a band-aid off or you have to make this sharp left turn. It's like you have time,
Mm-hmm.
more than likely, to make smart decisions. But I think in all of this, owners need to realize they did nothing wrong regarding this. I mean, we've done a
Right.
lot of wrong shit. I don't
Well,
know
that's
about that.
different. I've done that shit.
But they didn't do anything wrong. The world just changed.
Yeah.
And we need to
Oh
quit
yeah.
blaming ourselves and we need to quit feeling like we're a bunch of sad, sorry, some bitches. Sad, sorry, some bitches who can't figure this out.
That's for the next episode.
Yeah. Oh, you've got other things planned today? I thought we would just go on and on about this.
Four
No,
hour episode.
we've got the digital services outlook report is coming out soon.
Cool.
So that'll be a nice one to put next to this and take a look at how shops feel like they're doing. But just in saying goodbye, you know, I'm gonna do the old Al Franken bit. Everybody listening, you're good enough, you're smart enough, and gosh darn it, people like you. So stand up, stop crying.
Damn. Little
That was every
strong.
second date for me ever. Stand up, stop crying.
Stop crying.
Oh man, I felt bad every time a woman realized that she had agreed to go on a second date with me and then remembered who I was. And the first date is like, yeah, it never went well.
Never mind.
Gene, I tell you about my shirt.
It's a nice shirt.
100% cotton.
100% cotton.
All right, brother. I'll talk to you later. See you, everybody.